about business incorporation. We explained last class that it is the process whereby business is registered by the registrar of company. So what am I putting across here? Yeah. For the joint stock company, because of its legal status, needs to be registered by the registrar of company, and that gives it a legal status. And per the Act 2013, Section 20, also governs how or the need for the joint stock company to be registered. Good. So, after the registration or the incorporation of the joint stock company, then the joint stock company now becomes legal status. Okay? Now, status. Okay? And it also acquired that common seal. Okay? And it also acquired that perpetual existence. All I'm saying is some of the features or the characteristics of the joint stock company. Okay? So, by the grace of God, how the joint formed, we go straight to some major characteristics or essential characteristics or critical characteristics of the joint stock company. And we came to realize that one, we talked about the liability, one we talked about the separate entity, one we talked about the its perpetual existence, one we talk about its liability, and we talk about its common seal, we talk about its risk sharing. These are some of the features of the joint stock company. But this evening, our focus will be on the merit or the importance of the joint stock company. And if there is time, we move straight to the demerit or the disadvantage of the joint stock company. Then I think we'll bring the class to a close today. So let's move straight to the advantages of the joint stock company. Unless maybe the class have a question to ask, then I can proceed with the advantage of the joint stock company. If there is no any question, then we can move straight to the advantages of the joint stock company. Please, are you okay with the explanation and the information of the joint stock company? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Are you okay with it?
Yes, sir.
So, can we proceed with the advantages of the joint stock company?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I hope there is no question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, one of the advantages of the joint stock company is what its limited liability is one of the advantages of the joint stock company. And here we are saying that the joint stock company possesses the limited liability as a benefit in the sense that the capital contributed by the the members or the liabilities of the members of the joint stock company is limited to the extent of capital contributed. So what am I putting across here? Now, when there is an insolvency or bankruptcy of the company, the personal assets or properties of the owners are not sold to defray the debt of the creditor, but rather the assets of the company is rather sold to repay the debts of creditors. Please, you understand? Good. So, limited liability is one of the advantages against a company in the sense that one, the liability of the members of the company is limited to the amount of the share contributed or invested in the company, and therefore, when there is any insolvency or bankruptcy of the company, the personal assets or properties of the owners of the company is outlined. In other words, the personal assets or properties of the owners of the company are not supposed to be tackled at all, but rather the assets of the company is rather sold to defray or repay the business debt. That is why it's a limited liability as an advantage. Please, are you okay? Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, so that's one advantage. Now, for the second one, we can talk about it what perpetual existence. Perpetual existence. That's the second advantage of the joint stock company. And when we talk about perpetual existence, now we are saying that now, unlike the sole proprietorship, whereby the death of the owner of the business leads to the dissolution or collapse of the business, for the joint stock company, because it acquired that legal status, when there is any insolvency or bankruptcy or accident or retirement or imprisonment or insanity of any of the members, still the company exists. The company will never be dissoluted. It will still exist. So what am I putting across here? Members may come, members may go in here, but a company will still exist. And the company can only be liquidated. The company can only be liquidated or dissoluted based on the Act 2013 Act, which stipulate that before you can liquidate the company, there are certain procedures that you have to pass through, and we call it winding up of the company. So the company simply means that for the joint stock company, one of its benefits is the perpetual existence, and I'm repeating it, is that now because it acquired legal status, when there is insolvency or bankruptcy, retirement, imprisonment, insanity of any of the members of the company still continues to exist. Now remember, for the sole proprietorship, when there is a death or any insolvency of the company, that's the end. But for the joint stock company, because of its legal acquisition, the company still exists. And before you can collapse or dissolute the company, then the Act 2013 that governs its registration, the same Act governs how the company can be dissoluted. And that Act, the Act 2013, this same Act will govern how or will stipulate how it needs to be dissoluted or to be closed down. Do you understand? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Any question?
No questions.
No question.
Please.
Can we continue?
Yes, sir. Please, can you repeat them?
Can I do what, please? Please, can I do what? Hello? Hello? Yeah, I heard a voice saying that I should repeat the perpetual existence. Should I?
Yes, sir.
Can we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the limited liability, we talked about that of its perpetual succession. And one another advantage or benefit of the joint stock company is what is its control. Okay, is its control. Okay, even before the control, let's talk about the formation of the joint stock company, which is also another advantage of the joint stock company. Or let's talk about the control first. Now, when we talk about the control as an advantage of the joint stock company, we are trying to say that one, the joint stock company has been besetted with several advantages, and control is one. Now, remember that for the sole proprietorship is being owned by only one person. The partnership is owned by the members of the partners. Now, for the joint stock company, it's being owned by what? being owned by the shareholders, okay? And that shareholders have that money to appoint the board of directors and top level managers who, in a joint effort, run the activities of the company, okay? And so therefore, when there is any decision, then the shareholders and the board of directors, in collaboration with the top managers, needs to come together to come into consensus to run the affairs of the company. But unlike that of the sole proprietorship, whereby it is owned by only one person, and for that matter, a decision is taken by only one person. But for the joint stock company, it is not like that, because these three entities or personalities have to agree on a common proposal before they can carry out that proposal in order for the business to run effectively. Okay, so this is another advantage of the joint stock company. Okay, please, any question? Any question?
Okay. Yes, sir, I got one. Sir,
Yeah.
please, you said the control is an advantage. Me, I saw it to be a disadvantage because there are 3 or more partners. Let me put it this way: there are 2 or more partners, so they have to sit down and decide. Maybe because there will be a disagreement between them, so there will be a delay in decision making. So me, I thought that when it comes to the control, it's a disadvantage to the joint stock company.
It can be a disadvantage, it can be an advantage. So depending on how you put your point, okay. Depending on and even with regards to the control, and even some classify it under the features of the joint stock company. And why is it so? Why is it so that they classify even as a feature of the joint stock company? Okay, why?
It's a feature two or more partners running the business.
Okay.
When you see 2 or more people running a joint stock company, so that it makes it a feature.
Okay. So it is a feature because remember that when you take that of proprietorship, one of the features is that it's being owned by one person. So therefore, if it's owned by one person, then it means that for the joint stock company, it's being owned by shareholders by the appointment of our board of directors and top managers to run the activities of the business. So it can be classified as a feature, but it can be classified as also an advantage in the sense that now there is a collaboration here. The shareholders and the board of directors and the management have to come together to run the affairs of the business, and there is it is beneficial, essential in the sense that there is a balanced decision over here. Unlike that of the sole proprietor, you are a one-man business, and when you are taking decision because you don't consult anybody, sometimes your decision can land you to a loss. Okay, but when you come together as a group, the shareholder, the board of directors, you always get a balanced decision. And when you have a balanced decision, then it means that there will be an efficiency with regards to the company's operation. So it can be an advantage. Please do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So let's move to the 4th point, which is the scope of expansion. Scope of expansion. So we talked about the liability. We talked about the perpetual existence or stable existence. We talk about the control, which can be an advantage and can be even a feature too. The 4th one to talk about the scope for expansion. And why is that scope for expansion is a characteristic of the joint, it's a benefit of the joint stock company. The reason is that there is no restriction to the maximum number of members in, especially that of the public company. Okay, so expansion of business is easy by issuing new shares and debentures. What am I talking about here? Now remember that for the joint stock company, there is 3 personalities here over here, and for that matter, there is huge financial resources or enough resources in the joint stock company. Okay, and because of its legal identity acquired, it always gives investors the confidence to invest more, to expand their business. And besides that, financial institutions too are very much confident in the joint stock company because of its huge capital and huge resources accumulation. Unlike that of the sole proprietorship, of which its resources is very few. But for the joint stock company, it's a company. Remember, the minimum number when you talk about the joint stock company is around 7, and the maximum number, especially that of the public limited liability joint company, exceed around 100. So you're assuming you have 100 people operating a company, and they all put their resources together, or they put their resources together. You can see these resources put together cannot be compared to the resources being put together by only one person. Okay, so this a huge pool of resources of the joint stock company always makes it to increase its productivity, and it also gives investors the confidence to invest into the company. And even beside that, because of its legal identity acquired, okay, it also gives the investors the confidence to invest into the business, and even the financial institution to also what give them loan to run or expand the business. That's why we are saying that one of their benefits is the scope for expansion. Please do you understand?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the fifth point is what public confidence is also an advantage of the joint company. So here, what are we talking about? The formation and working of the company are well regulated by the provisions of Companies Act. Okay, remember that the joint stock company is regulated by the Company Act 2030 Section 20. Okay, so these provisions regarding compulsory, this provision give the joint stock the compulsory publication of some document, accounts, directors report, etc., etc., etc. And this creates confidence in the public about the functioning of the company. So here it's very simple. Now, when we take the joint stock company, you can see there is lack of secrecy here. Okay, in a sense that there is a need for you to update the register of company consistently, okay, about how the company is functioning or operating, whether the company is accelerating or decelerating, whether the company is getting profit or not getting profit. You have to update the register of company consistently. Now, for the sole proprietorship and the partnership business, you are not obliged and mandated to publish your account or your reports, the company reports to the public. But for the joint stock company, you are obliged to publicize the company to the public for them to know whether the company is improving productivity or decreasing productivity. Okay, for the public to know. Okay, and the register of company to also know whether your productivity is increasing or whether your productivity is decreasing. So it always gives the public some level of confidence with regards to its operations. Unlike the sole proprietorship business whereby you are not obliged, you are not mandated to publicize information with regards to your profit or losses, or even how you are paying your salaries to your employees, or how you are running the business entirely. There is no need for you to publicize or publish it to the public for them to know how you are running the business is not running. But for the joint stock company, there is a need for you to give a consistent update to the register of company per the act. Okay, then you also have to give a consistent update to the public. Now, what am I saying here? Now, after you giving a consistent update to the register of company, the register of companies will publicize this information to the public for them to know how the company is indeed running with regards to its efficiency and effectiveness, with regards to how increasing its productivity or decreasing its productivity. Did you understand? Okay. Any question?
you please, I want to know how the registrar publicizes the information, like any form of image, any form of how a business is being run as a form of information. So I want to know how they publicize it to the public.
Oh, okay. Now, the registrar of company, who is a full body mandated by Act 2013, Section 20, to receive an update with regards to the company's record. Now, most of the time, the records of the company is being published or publicized through advertisement or into the daily graphics and so on and so forth. Okay, for people to know how the company is running. So it's not like posting it at the various vantage points or at the various places in the city. But however, newspapers you can normally see. That's why we have the business daily graphic over there, of which you can normally see most of the company, how it is running its affairs. Okay, how it's increasing or decreasing. So it can be publicized through the daily graphic. At the time we have the GTV, we have a business time for most panels to let the public know how the companies are running. So most of the time, GTV normally does that. Normally on some, we call it a business meeting or something. GTV normally do that to update the public about how the public limited joint stock company is running its affairs, and for them to know how it is running with regards to its efficiency or its effectiveness. So that's how it normally publicize it.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Please, are you convinced with it?
Yes, sir, I'm cool, thanks. I'm cool, thank you.
Okay. So we have about 5 points now. Let's talk about the last one, which is the professional management. It's also an advantage of the joint stock company. And here, what are we putting across here? The management of the company vests in the director duly elected by shareholders. Okay? Now, normally these directors are experienced persons elected because they have the available skill and they utilize this available skill for the benefit of the company. Okay? The company organization, therefore, is like a bridge between the skill and the capital. So, in a nutshell, what am I putting across here? Now, remember that now it is a company, not a sole proprietorship business. And for that matter, the joint stock company, so far as you know, is being owned by the shareholders. And the shareholders, they are the owners of the company. And they have that mandate and authority to appoint board of directors. Board of directors also have that mandate to select or appoint managers. The managers can be the top level or the lower level or the middle level managers. So this board of directors and the levels of management that they work in collaboration to run the activities of the joint stock company, they are very competent and skilled people. Unlike the sole proprietorship, if you are operating a barbering shop or you are operating a mobile money business, nobody will come around to ask you about your qualification, whether you have a first degree or second degree or SS certificate or what. It depends on how you are going to use your own effort and your own knowledge or survey that you have done with regards to the business that you are operating to just run your business. But for the joint stock company, it requires competent and skilled personnel to run the company. So the board of directors, they are very competent enough. When you talk about the managers, the top level, then the lower level, the middle level, they are competent enough to run the affairs of the company. So nobody can go into the joint stock company to say that I'm having a GHA certificate, and for that matter, I want to help to run the affairs of the company. It doesn't work that way. But the joint stock company is a very serious business. Remember, because of its legal status and because after acquisition of the legal status, the government recognizes it. So everything that the company does needs to be official So with regards to its management body, they need to be competent and skilled, because if they are not skilled and competent enough, or in other words, if they are incompetent enough, then it means that there will be low productivity. But in a company whereby we have competent and skilled, educated people working in a company, it affects its productivity. There will be high productivity. But in a company whereby we have low skill people who don't have knowledge with regards to various areas, it do normally affect the productivity, because they lack that knowledge and skills to what? To have a greater output of the business operation. So in a nutshell, what I'm putting across is here, for the joint stock company deals with what? Professional, competent people who normally runs the affairs of the company in order to increase its productivity. That is why for the joint stock company deals with what? Paying of salary to its workers. Okay? Deals with paying of salary with its workers. And the salary that they pay to its workers, they will make sure that they will pay a salary to you based on the productivity that you have achieved, either annually or either quarterly for the company. So if you are a finance officer and you are not competent enough, the company can choose to sack you. If you are a marketing officer and you are not competent, the company can choose to sack you. If you are an auditing officer and you are not competent enough, the company can choose to sack you. Because why are they going to sack you? They are going to sack you because they don't see the value of you being there, because they have been paying you and you are not making an effort to increase the productivity of the company. So therefore, the joint stock company requires competent and skilled personnel to increase productivity of the business, or in other words, to improve efficiency and effectiveness of the company. That is why professional management is an advantage or benefit of the joint stock company. I don't know if the class is convinced. If you are not convinced, then please tell me. Let me explain.
We are convinced.
Okay.
We are convinced.
We thank God. So far so good. How many advantages do we have with regards to the joint stock company?
One. Liability.
Yes. Okay.
You have control.
3.
Perpetual existence.
4.
The scope of expansion is the public confidence.
Oh, okay. So far so good. We have
6.
5. Benefit or significance of the joint stock company. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So far so good. I wanted to add the last one. You bring to an end the advantages or the benefit of the joint stock company, and that is the transferability of shares. It's also an advantage of the joint stock company. Now, of course, here, the shareholders of, especially that of the public limited joint stock company, are entitled to transfer the shares held by them to others. Okay, the shares of most joint stock company are listed on the stock exchange, and hence can easily be sold. So what am I putting across here? When you take that of the public limited liability joint stock company, the shares of the company can be transferred. In other words, it can be marketed at the stock exchange market. Okay, and when a share is being marketed, then it means that when the need arises, it can be converted into money. And when it is being converted into money, then people who are investing into the joint stock company, there is no fear with regards to its investment. Please, any question?
Yeah, I got a question. Sir, please, a time came, MTN as a network, I saw them sharing, they were selling the shares yes, we as customers, we can decide to buy their shares. So say, does that make the MTN a joint stock company?
Yes, MTN is a private limited joint stock company.
Okay. So say, please, they selling their shares. Does it mean that we can gain dividend on our invested capital? Because when you buy the shares, by all means, you have to contribute something. So do we gain something?
Oh yes, I don't know whether it is in your class that I discussed, or I told you that I once bought a share from MTN. I invested my share into the MTN, their office. I mean, 300 Ghana cedis, and they gave me a dividend of 30 Ghana cedis. Okay, and there was a friend of mine who also invested 500 Ghana cedis, but he had a dividend of 2.5 Ghana cedis. So you see here that the higher your investment or share that you invest into the company, the higher your dividend. Okay, so anytime that you buy a share, then it means that the share that you bought, you have to get a dividend. Okay, shares comes with dividend, not a profit. Okay, so the higher the share that you buy, the higher your profit. The lower the share that you buy, the lower your what? Your profit. Okay, your dividend. Sorry, not a profit, but
Dividend.
that's the dividend.
Okay.
So whenever you invest more in a company with regard to share, then it means that you are going to get a higher dividend. But when you invest low in a company, then it means that you are going to get a lower dividend. That's what I'm
Okay. Thank you.
saying. So please, we are done. So now we have the 6 points of the joint stock company. Okay. And we can boast of saying the limited liability company control, its perpetual or stable existence. We can talk about its professional management. We can talk about transfer of shares. We can talk about public confidence, and we can talk about the scope of expansion. Okay.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
So these are the advantages of the joint stock company. Can we quickly move to the merit or the disadvantage of the joint stock company? Let's take it one by one and explain. And one of the disadvantages of the joint stock company is complexity in its formation. So what am I putting across here? Now remember that for the joint stock company, it is not a joke for you to establish it at all. It is not a joke. Unlike that of the sole proprietorship, when you have your money, you can just put down any structure and start running the business. That's why it's a less regulated form of business operation. Okay, but for the joint stock company, there is a need for you to pass through what okay, a complicated procedure needs to pass through. Not a complicated procedure per se. A legal complicated procedure needs to be passed through before you can even get a certificate for the companies to be functionalized or operationalized. Okay, so you can realize that it is very time consuming, it is very expensive, it is very complicated with regards to its establishment or operation. Any question? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Please, are you convinced?
Yes, sir.
Are you convinced?
Yes, sir.
So can we move on to the second point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. So for the second point, please let's talk about that of it. We talk about complexity
You need
of
formation.
information, advantage or the merit of the joint stock company. Okay. Now the second is what? It's numerous regulations. Numerous regulations. So we talk about the complexity of information, numerous regulations. I think with the second point, its explanation is similar to that of the complication with regards to its formation. Yeah, what am I talking about? Numerous regulations in the sense that it's not going to take you a day or two or three or even a month to just bring a company into existence. Sometimes it takes you about a year or even 2 or 3. Depending on how serious the shareholder these things. And not about being serious. Seriousness in the sense that now remember, for the joint stock company, there is a need for you to get one, and you have to have an extensive knowledge. You have to comply with a whole lot of legal procedures before you can bring the company into existence. So it comes into filing a report, putting several documents together, putting your auditor document together, knowing how the profit is going to be set, how the company is going to be dissoluted, or in other words, liquidated according to the act. You have to put it together. You have to know the objectives. You have to know the address. You have to know how the company is going to increase its productivity. So these are some of the requirements that you have to put together. These are some of the requirements that the registrar of company will require from the shareholders before they can give them a certificate of incorporation. There is a whole lot. There is about 13 or 15 requirements or documents that you have to put in place before you can before the registrar can give you a certificate of incorporation. So these are the few mentioned to you. Okay, so you can realize that it is not a joke for you to just establish a joint stock company at all. Bringing all these documents together sometimes can take you about a year or two for you put everything together, submit to the registrar of company. He will also assess the authenticity of the document, and assessing the authenticity of the document, he will then give you about a month or two for you to be certified or for the certificate of incorporation. With regards to hello.
Yes, sir.
Can I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good. So we talk about the complexity of information and numerous regulation. Then we can also talk about the conflict of interest, which is the disadvantage of a joint stock company. Yeah, what am I putting across here? Now remember that for the joint stock company, there are three entities involved. You have the shareholders, you have the directors, you have the top level managers, you have the middle level managers. Okay, they all play key role with regards to the company's operation. Okay, now remember that for the shareholders, their main purpose or their main objective to have an award is to get an intrinsic value of their share invested. Remember that for that of the directors or the management, the top level or the middle level or the lower level management, their main objective is to get higher salary, okay? And even consumers, okay? They are also able to get a quality product with low price. So you can realize that this demands, okay, of all these personalities, the company is a major challenge for people. And because this demand or this diverse interest it makes cannot meet all these diverse interests at a goal, it makes it a challenge for. That is why it is a disadvantage of the joint stock company. Okay. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Please do you understand?
Please take the point over again.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, so is it advisable to join the joint stock company?
Is it what?
Is it advisable
To
to do the joint stock?
to join the joint stock company?
Yes, as compared to the partnership.
Is it advisable? If it is advisable to be part of a company. I mean,
I'm talking about the joint stock and between the joint stock and the partnership. I'm talking like, which one is more advisable?
Oh, there are several advantages with regards to you being part of the joint stock company because of, remember for the joint stock company, it's a very serious business. Now, remember, see, unlike the partnership business, when there is a death or insolvency or bankruptcy of the business, okay, sometimes depends on the terms and conditions or the partnership, the company or the business need to collapse or be soluted. Okay. Now, for the partnership business, when there is death or insolvency or bankruptcy, insanity, imprisonment, retirement of any of the member, it do sometimes affect the business operation, and it can even dissolute the business. But it depends on the partnership deal. Okay? But most of the time, a death of a partner or retirement or insanity or imprisonment do affect the partnership business. Now, let's move back to the joint stock company. Now, for the joint stock company, remember that I told you that when there is an insolvency or when there is a bankruptcy, when there is imprisonment, when there is retirement, when there is insanity, when a person of the natural disaster or accident, the company still exists. So what am I putting across? That is why that's what the perpetual or stable existence. That's the joint stock company. Okay, the stable existence of the joint stock company because of the legal status acquired, when there is death or insanity of the business, the company still exists. But that of the partnership, when there is a death of what? Business operation. So it is sometimes advisable to be part of a company rather than being part of a partnership business. But the only thing is that you need to be part of a company because of if you don't have enough capital, then it means that you cannot be a shareholder in a company. Okay? You have to have enough capital before you can become a shareholder of a company. So most of the time, shareholders of the company are the people who are business oriented, people who are financially well endowed, and should in case there is anything or any challenge or problem, they can raise up or they can put their hands on their chest to defend the company at all times. So sometimes advice about it depends on your financial capability. You can join the joint company. Okay, it's very advisable for you to be part of the company, especially a shareholder, or you can be a board of director.
Okay.
That one depends on your pedigree and your financial capability. So far, so good. That's what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
Okay. So we can move on. So now, talk about what conflict of interest. We talked about what again as a disadvantage.
So you also talked about complicity in its formation.
Complexity in its formation, and what again?
Numerous regulation.
Numerous
regulation. Yeah, there are many rules in the company.
Okay. So we have right?
Yes.
Okay. So entire public to know how the company is running with regards to how it's increasing its productivity or decreasing its productivity entirely. So when we come back to the disadvantage or the demerits, there is lack of secrecy here. And what am I putting across? Now, because there is a consistent update with regards to the company records to the Registrar General, and the Registrar General will move to the extent of publicizing the entire information to the public for the company, for the people or the public to know how the company is running, then you can realize that there is no secrecy with regards to the company's operation. Now, when we move to the sole proprietorship business, do remember that for the sole proprietorship business, it's a one-man business. For that matter, the owner of the business or the proprietor is not cold, or in other words, not forced by anybody. The government doesn't control its activity. For that matter, there is no need for its classification to be known to the public. But for the joint stock company, you are mandated for the public to know. You are mandated for the register of companies to know how you are indeed running the business. So there is lack of secrecy with regards to the joint stock company operating. Please do understand. So how many points do you have so far? We have conflict of interest, we have lack of secrecy. Have you talked about the delay in decision making? Delay in decision making.
No, sir.
Okay, so let's talk about the delay in decision making and let's bring the class to a close. For the delay in decision making, we are simply saying that, remember, for the joint stock company, it's run by three personalities here: the shareholders here, the board of directors, and the management. The management, we are talking about the top level, the middle level, and the lower level management. Okay. Now, when there is a proposal on board, these three personalities have to come together and agree on that proposal. Okay? Okay? Now,
Yes,
unlike the sole proprietor, where you are making decision, you make it alone without consulting anybody. But for the joint stock company, there is a need for you to collaborate. Okay? That collaboration should be there. Collaboration with regards to decision making, collaboration with regards to proposal on board. Everybody has to agree on a particular proposal. And that will always make their decision a balanced decision. Okay? So, a party A will bring his view, party B will bring his view, party C will bring his view. And after weighing the pros and cons of that decision, at the end of the day, I believe strongly that there will be a balanced decision because everybody's opinion has been what? Like, decision. Make people the process of bringing a decision or bringing a good decision makes it very difficult because if a party doesn't agree on a decision or if party B does not agree on the decision, then it means that a particular proposal will take about a month or 2 or 3 before it can be accepted. The sole proprietorship business is very a one-man business, and for that matter, it doesn't consult anybody with decision. Decision making is very important. And to always make them to what capitalize on the market to increase its profitability. Out of the joint stock company, there is a need for collaboration of the shareholder, of the board of directors, of the management, and that makes it very bureaucratic. That makes the decision to be unlike a one-man business person who normally take decisions without consulting anybody. So this is a reason why delay in decision making is a demerit or disadvantage of the joint stock company. So far so good. I think by the grace of God, we will bring today's class to a close. We started by recapping on what we studied last Sunday, the formation of the joint stock company, the explanation of joint stock company. We moved straight to the features of the joint stock company. And tonight, by the grace of God, we have been able to explain the advantages and the disadvantages of the joint stock company. If there is any question, the class can ask. If there is no, then I think we will bring the class to a close. Then we will proceed. God will on Sunday. Any question?
No question.
Any question?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Yes.
Now, as you're saying that MTN, they were sharing their shares. If you buy the shares, does it mean you automatically become a shareholder?
Yes, you become a shareholder of MTN. Okay.
So you become like
I'm a shareholder because I was a shareholder because I've contributed a portion of capital into that company, and that makes me a shareholder.
okay.
Please do you understand?
So does it mean that you can take decisions in this one, in the company?
You can do what?
You can take decisions.
Yes, you are part. So for the MTN, those of you who are privileged to buy the MTN share, there was a consistent update with regard to meeting. I do remember that I had about 5 or 3 text messages inviting me to their MTN share meeting at Accra, but I was not able to attend. So because I'm a shareholder, I've invested a portion of my capital into that business. So I've been classified as a shareholder. So any meeting with regards to the MTN's operation, specifically the amount of shares that we invested, or issues with regards to your shares, they have to update you. They have to call for a meeting to update you about what is really happening. They have to update. Please understand.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any further question? Yes. Any further question?
Sir,
Yes.
please. So when I buy the shares from, let's say, the MTN office, do I have any rights to partake in decision making?
But the decision making, you have that right. I mean, you are a shareholder. And a shareholder, like I said, a portion of capital has been invested into a particular business or company. And so, indirectly, you are owner. You are part of owners of the business. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay? Good. So, you
Okay.
become of the business. So, the company's operation with regards to decision and with regards to issue, to individual, they invested your capital. They don't have a line to penalize you, but rather they have to involve you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further question? So tonight, how many participants so far?
8 participants.
8 participants. Please,
Excluding you, we are 8. Yes.
excluding me. Okay. Please,
Yeah.
try your best and your colleagues that they should be part of this discussion. Very necessary. Otherwise, it will inform me that the discussion that class is not that essential to the class. And that sometimes pulls down my phone. But I do remember that the class promised me that they are going to partake in this discussion so that when they report, God willing, I don't know when they are reporting though, they will not lag behind with regards to various topics. And if the participation is low, then if they report, there is a need for me to go back and explain. Meanwhile, if you could have been part of it, when you report, then we are going to proceed from where we get.
Sir,
Yes.
we want to ask. You said the disadvantage.
The disadvantage, yeah.
You said lack of skill.
Lack of secrecy. Yeah, lack of secrecy. As in what? Yes.
Please say it's off from the line.
I saw from
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask a question on a point lack of secrecy, which is the disadvantage or the merit of the joint stock company, but it's offline. Okay. If there is no any further question, then I think we'll bring the class to a close. But before then, can we do a quick recap? We've discussed 6 advantages of the joint stock company and 6 disadvantages of the joint stock company. Can we start with the advantages of the joint stock company? 1, which was?
The one we have control.
Okay, 2.
We have liabilities.
Okay, limited liability.
We have the perpetual
Okay, 3.
existence.
Okay, resistance.
We have the scope of expansion.
Scope of expansion, okay. And
We have
protected.
public confidence.
That's right, public confidence.
And we have
Okay.
transferability of share. So under the demerit, we have the complexity information. And
Okay, sir.
so I said under the demerit, we have
Under the what?
demerit.
Under the the demerit.
We
Yeah,
have
1.
complexity information, innate formation.
Complete information. And 2,
We have the numerous regulation.
numerous regulations. 3,
We have the lack of secrecy.
lack of secrecy. 4,
Hello. Sir.
The conflict of interest.
Sir.
conflict of interest. Yes.
The lack of security.
Secrecy, not security.
Sir, please.
Lack of secrecy.
Sorry. Lack of secrecy. I want to know some of the things which make them lack secrecy.
Please, your question is you want to know how there is a lack of secrecy.
Yes, the things which make them lack.
Lack of secrecy simply refers to, for the joint stock company, whatever that is happening, the register of company, okay, you have to approve him or her, okay, the registrar of company, you have to update, okay, so asking how the company is getting it